Just give me the good, so I go.
Yep, give me 1 second. Okay, so we are live on YouTube. Let's see if it pulls up. There we go. We are live on YouTube to hear the Discord audio. You know, we're not going to obviously hear it from Instagram Live, but I will show you what Elkin is looking at. So let's push this here. Elkin, I am ready when you are.
I'm good.
Okay, go ahead.
Good to go. Give me 1 second here. Okay, you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Good. You guys can hear me. And for those who doesn't know, you can, the ones that are on Discord, you see the live button. If you hit the live button, you can join my stream. I think you guys are all there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, just hit the live button on the right and join my stream. So this is what we're going to look tomorrow. Let me pull the Discord. This is the watch list that I did. However, I'm just gonna put for tonight Chewy, Fastly, Blink, Boeing, SE, PayPal, and Datadog. So we're gonna do 7 and whatever Kian is going to do. And before we get too into it, this is all after hours. We need to wait until what we see tomorrow. So we're gonna do some work today, but we're not gonna make hard decisions tonight. Of course, we need to wait what we see tomorrow on pre-market, or what we see tomorrow at opening and during market. So we're just going to do a little speculation. So we're gonna go through some stocks that are building some important levels that are following the market trend. As you know, we're on an uptrend. And what we like to do here is to follow the trend. We think the trends are friends. So since we're going to follow, we're going to look for long entries first. And of course, we're going to review a few supports. So for the ones that want to play the short as well. So let's start with Datadog. I'm on a 20 days, 1 hour chart. This is the hourly chart. I get here. So I see 1, 2, I see almost a triple top here, which means if we break this support at 107.05, we can see some potential downside, and we might fill the gap all the way to 105.06. So keep this 107.05 in mind. If we shorten the time frame a little bit, we can see this here. And keep in mind also the 109.85 level. You see we got an APP 161.8%, and we also have the highest high here. So keep those two levels in mind. We need to see what we're going to open. Either we open within the channel 107.05 and 109.77.85. So as long as we open there, these entries are valid. Otherwise, for the upside, we're gonna have to run an APP and see what we get, but it's not going to be as safe of an entry. So we can do something like, maybe we get this low here, this high, and this low. So we see something at 111.89. We can speculate and see if we confirm this one here. Otherwise, it looks like futures. How are futures doing?
They're okay.
Are they flat?
Pretty flat. Dow's down 20, Nasdaq up 24.
Okay. So if we follow the futures trend, we can still open within the channel. We'll see that tomorrow. So that's for Datadog. We have to see if we open between this channel, 107.05, 109.85. So I say if we break at 110, we can go long, and we can test this 100 APP here. Otherwise, we're gonna have to break below 107. You can always do like a 106.95, 106.90. Give it some room. This is a good level because you see here, we got resistance in the past. You guys see here, 107, we got resistance, and then after we pass it here, we got rejection here, and we got support now. So it's definitely a level to watch, whether for the upside or downside. Looks like, yeah, we're trying to form some consolidation here. There's also huge volume at closing, so we keep in mind on this. GTM squeeze is not ready yet. ATR, it's in the middle, not bad. So we move forward on that. Just take notes on this and don't get them too. Don't remember what we're doing right now is a little speculation. We need to see how are we going to wake up tomorrow when we have the pre-market action. So just do that for now. Just keep in mind on the 107.05, 109.85 consolidation. Set your entries a little above and a little below. As we say, we can do 110 for long. We can do 106.90 for short. Let's do. I've been looking at this ones and I like it. So C limit is one of those. Okay, I know it looks like a lot, but it's not that much. So we see resistance here. You guys see this? This is an hourly chart again. We also have a small triangle forming. It's a little small, but it still follows the pattern. So I don't know if we are going to open above. Ideally for us not, but we can control that. But if we break this 287 and we let it go above 201, I feel like it could be a good entry for calls. Like a good entry, but it's super tight, super close right now. I don't know. If we get up on pre-market, we're gonna pass it. We also have support here, 198.9, which it was an all resistance for an APP. So this could be potential if we break the pattern here towards the downside. A 198.70 could be a really good entry. Maybe one, if you don't want to wait that much, you can do 198.80, 0.75. So write that down. 198.75 could be potentially a good entry for puts towards the downside. And again, so for the upside, we need to put a little more attention here. Let's put a 30-minute chart. Actually, let's do a 15-minute. I know it's a short time frame, but I want you guys to see this. We have a lot of resistance here, which means the good part, if we open above this 287, we can still get an entry above 202.10 and expect what? Why that? Here, you see, 1, 2, almost 3 times we got this high. So ideally our entries here, but if we miss it, we can still get in here. We follow the other resistance. You guys see in the past, we broke it and we gap up big time. So that's something that we can speculate to happen, but we can't ignore these two. There's a huge resistance area on these levels. So between 203.18 and 203.41, you can expect some profit taking. We're not sure about it, but it's better to keep that in mind than just have no idea, okay? So ideally 200.87, so above 201, go long. I have my doubts that we're gonna open there. If we gap up, we're gonna open above. So this could be our second entry. We give it above 202.08. We can expect some profit taking here. Otherwise, if we are able to get this entry, we can expect some profit taking here too at this area, 202. So that's $1. That's your whole delta right there if you're trading options with us. So it's not bad. I like this little triangle here. I like what I see here. Hopefully it'd be really nice to open within that channel. But there's a lot of news right now. There's a lot of things, external things that are moving the market. So I won't be surprised. I won't be disappointed if we are above or below. The downside doesn't look bad here. Also, if we get to play the downside, it pay off good. 198.75. Yeah. So take notes. I would take notes on here. I would do 198.9 support, 200.87 resistance, and the second resistance was 201.94. Let's make sure that's the right one. Yeah, 201.84. So write those three here. Let me put it short. Here, these two resistance and this support. Those are gonna be your friends tomorrow for C limit. And let's do another one that I've been liking. It's PayPal. PayPal is a similar pattern here. Looks like a 1, 2 triple top. It's also forming a little triangle. The only thing that I don't like is that we're way too close. We're way too close. So if we gap up, we're gonna open above and we're gonna miss our entry. Right now, futures look a little red, but they're also pretty. So we need to wait. So for PayPal, since we're so close, I'm gonna keep it short. I like an entry here at 237.98, but to make sure we can do a 238, 238.10, 238.15, maybe even 238.20 if you're a little more conservative. And for the downside, this looks like a nice support. This is at opening too. No, that was actually at noon on Friday. So we had a little here. So for the downside, you can do 233.51 support. So keep this channel in mind for PayPal. Let's see if we put a shorter time frame. So 15 minutes. You see a lot of resistance here, and we're not too far. So, and if you guys like to play reversals, you can also look for a reversal here towards the downside, close to this 237.98. There's 238.11 too. So definitely keep that in mind. Actually, you know what? Let's fix this a little bit because I don't want, when I'm looking at 10 stocks, I don't want to get it twisted. So we got a 238.11. That's a high that we need to know. We can set above here. So 238.11. Perfect. Okay, that's a lot better now. We're still red on the squeeze. So we got the 180 and 40 days. Yeah, so it looks like we're losing some momentum on this uptrend here. It's really struggling going above this 238.11. So I keep that in mind. I still keep my long option here above, but you might be able to play this towards the downside. If if it keeps having issues breaking that resistance, you can either play a reversal here, you wait for your candlestick, you wait for the patterns to finish, you want to see a doji here, a red doji, and then a red candle breaking below this or closing below this 236.84. That'd be like an engulfing pattern, but that doesn't happen all the time. So you see something like this, that's what you want to see, a doji here, and then having some candles forming. Or you can just wait if you want to play it safer below this 233.51. You can set an entry at 233.30. So that's what I see here. You will also be breaking this triangle. There's some support here to 232.52, but that one I would like to retest. So that's what I see on paper. Definitely, if I see it above 238.20, I will go long. I will do it, but we need to wait tomorrow. It's losing some momentum here. So we did SE, PayPal, DDOG. Let's look at BA. I have a lot of stuff on BA because, as you know, this is one of my favorite ones. So the descending triangle that we saw last week, that's still valid. We did get puts here. We did get puts below 225. I think that was Thursday or Wednesday, something like that. We had to wait a long time until we got the result here. So for BA, this one is going to be interesting. There's a lot of levels that are close by, a lot of new things to look on these new lowers. We don't have too much to do with it right now. We climb high, so we did form some levels here, but since we see so much movement from 213 to 244, it's hard right now to find short entries. So my favorite at the moment is just play Friday support. It held twice. It's a nice support so far to 1859. Keep an eye on it. Let's see if we had some resistance at some point. Looks like we don't. However, I say 218.59. That's 216. That's 219. So 218.55. We found a 218.2. So yeah, it's the biggest reference that we have is the support from Friday to 1859. We also have for the upside an APP that did hold a support at some point, and it looks like we found resistance here at 220.94. So if you play Boeing, it's going to be a high risk, no matter what. It's going to be a high risk. You can follow the trend and play it down below 218.59. You can set an entry at what? 218.44 maybe, 218.40.39. But just be aware that we don't have too much to rely on. We just have the Friday support that hit twice. Maybe if we go a shorter time frame, a 50-minute chart, we see it here. So yeah, that's pretty much what we got. Even with a shorter time frame, it's not as strong. There's no point on setting an entry here because if you break 218.88, you're gonna only have 20 cents gap. Yeah, 2 is on my list. We're going to get there. Unfortunately for you, I have it as my last one. So I have Chewy. I have Blink, Fastly, and Chewy left. We're doing Boeing right now, so just 3 more. No problem. Okay, so for Boeing, I want you guys to know that it's going to be risky. No matter what we do, I would be careful with Boeing. Boeing is in a tough spot right now. Yeah, there's a lot of levels. There's a lot of no man's land. We did have the triangle and we had the entry here for short, That was good because at that point, this is what we had. And if you see, if I go on the 5-minute chart, that was the chart we were trading for puts. This is something that you guys need to be aware. So we see the break here, and we got in, but we couldn't profit until an hour. We had to wait a whole hour because all this stuff. You know, we got in here, and our contract was down for a little bit, nothing too big. That's why if you get into options, pay contracts that you can afford. You know, if you can afford, don't do it, because I see some of the members, they cut it. We didn't cut it because we follow the plan. Like, we look at this and we're like, we're on a downtrend. Yes, there's a little bit of movement, but there's no point on cutting a contract that is barely moving and it's still good. Like, our play was still valid for an hour. We had to wait, I know that, but you see, there's no point. Like, you see this movement at 225. We got in at like what, 224.90 to 24.85 ish. That was our entry there. So you see, we went up by a little bit, but if you don't have if you can afford the contract, you're gonna panic. That's why somebody told that. I remember somebody saying that I got into buying puts and it's instantly going up. I was like, well, buddy, that's, you know, you gotta sometimes. Obviously, we want it to go our way always, but sometimes you gotta be like, okay, like, it's not going my way. Do I just sell? Do I hold on? It's still good. In this case, it was still good because we never passed anything. You see, just until we finally broke. Once we closed, we couldn't go higher than 225, 24. I knew we're good. Once we create this, just keep moving. And we did take profits early on that. If we would have let it run, I know Cody let it run. Cody did pretty good. He let it run all the way here. So you see, that's what I was looking for. It did take time. It didn't go our way right away, but that's what I was looking for, Boyne. Once we broke this support, because these APPs are for support. All these Fibonacci's and APPs, I did it for support because I'm doing it with the trend. I wasn't doing them for resistance. I wanted to see the lowers. So once we broke it, we follow, and we almost held at this Fibonacci, this APP too, until we broke it, and now we're here. Now we're just seeing some consolidation here. So we'll see what we do tomorrow. But I'll definitely keep an eye on Boeing and also be careful. There's too many levels close to each other. It might not be the best one to do, but still worth to keep an eye. We see what levels we respect tomorrow and keep testing levels. So just watch for 218.59, watch support there, watch resistance at 220.94, 221 if you like round numbers. Eventually 223.40, who knows? We might find the 222.92 as well. So keep an eye on those for Boeing. Let's do Blink to BLNK. We're getting news with electric vehicles and charging stations. So what do we have here? We have a 1 hour 20-day chart. We have an APP at the high here at 39.71. However, we're not there yet. We had resistance at 36.05. And we got down a little bit after market. So if you're gonna short your time frame, you see the old resistance still valid here at 36.05. I also like the support at 35.02. And after that, this is going to be a stock that you're going to get in, and every profit taken is going to be a speculation. I mean, you can do your APPs and see what we get. Let's do one here. What do we get here? Maybe let's grab it from, we already did this high, this low. So first, let's set up. Let's set up an entry at 36.15 for long and an entry for short at 34.90. So write that down, 36.15 long, 34.90 short, if we open there, if we're within that channel. So let's see some 38.23, that's a lot. That's a long run that you're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to have at least a week left in your contract. That's not gonna work for us. So if you go long and you're planning on taking profits here, make sure you write time on your contract. That's not going to work for a scalp. For a scalp, you're gonna have to take profits when you're 10% up, 15% up. At least close one or two and let the other ones run. Because I doubt that we're just gonna fill that gap so fast. It might happen, who knows? Otherwise, if we open above here and we keep climbing, this is our next entry. 38.23, we wanna see some room, so we can do a 38.38, 38.35. That could be a good entry too if we gap up here. So keep that one in mind too as well. If we miss that one, let's say on pre-market, we're open at 37-ish, so we'll keep an eye on the 38, 35 entry. And let me just do something here. I want to do like a 30, 10 day, 30 minutes. I want to see what I can draw here. So maybe this one. Not my favorite. What if I go here? I'm gonna leave this one just in case we go here. We break all-time high and we can have a new 41.68. We test that one. Other than that, I don't see too many options that I can do here. I can try a longer time frame. Maybe do something here. See if I get something close by that might work. Yeah, it's way too extended. Not gonna work. What if I go here? Okay, that's actually not bad. It's not what I wanted, but it confirms our level that we had. So it confirms our 36.05, 36.20 resistance. So we can set an entry now of 36.25. And that's for Blink. So yeah, keep that in mind. Keep in mind the 36.05 resistance, keep in mind 38.23 resistance, and 35.02. Always remember, if you if you look at those levels, give them some room. Don't just get in because it breaks 35.02. Like you can do a 34.90, you know, especially when it's close to round numbers, no decimals. Like if it's a flat 35, just keep in mind that those are levels that people like to watch. And whenever there's no decimals, like a 35, like a 36, in this case, 38 as well. Keep those in mind. And okay, last one on my side. Actually, I have Fastly and Chewy, so I have two more. Sorry, I'm taking a little long here, but I want to make sure you guys see what I see. What is this mess here? This is ugly. So, okay, we got Fastly here. Fastly, we got support at 101.53. I would not touch it. If it goes below, I would wait to confirm 101.09. So you can set below 101. You can set an entry for short puts in this case. And for the long, we do have some resistance here at 104. There's also a little bit at 104.63. So this will be half of your delta. So if you're scalping and you have a weekly and you set an entry at let's say 104.01, and it goes to test this 104.63. That's about 50 cents, because you're not gonna get an entry right away. You wanna wait at least to break 104.10. So 50 cents is half of your delta. So you should be making some decent profits here. So that's good, because you can keep in mind that there's resistance here, but you're gonna be making some decent profits on a weekly. If you get half of your delta, that should be at least what, 50? That's gonna be like 20%, 25% most likely. You can also set an entry here. There's not much to do. There's not much to look. Just a one-time. Maybe if we shorter the time frame, we can see it better. Yeah. So definitely, you could set an entry of 104.63. You let it 104.73 maybe, but make sure that you know that it's going to be a high risk, because there's not much that you have, and there's resistance close by too. So definitely liking this one better here. Also 102, above 103 could be a good entry. Yeah, if we don't gap above, we can see a good entry here. Definitely above 103. Otherwise, we can do 104.10. I wouldn't touch it unless, if we're willing to take the risk, I would. Otherwise, we got the resistance here. So for Fastly, be aware of 101.53 support, 101.09 support. Be aware of 102.92 resistance, 104.01, and 104.63. And eventually, let's get to 105.62, but I would keep those in mind. I can say one more time. 101.53 support, 101.09 support, 102.92 resistance, 104.01, and 104.63. Keep those in mind for tomorrow. Let's see where we open. And again, don't go too hard on these levels. Don't overthink and don't try to. It's more a speculation. There's no point on setting all these entries right now. And if we open tomorrow, and it's all past, so just, but it doesn't hurt to be aware. Chewy. Honestly, Chewy is not too much to see. Like, this is all I got for Chewy. Let me explain you what I see. Little triangle, tiny triangle, but it's still a pattern. You see, high, 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 rejection. But by a little bit, you're getting a low here. 97.88, 98.39, 98.61, 99.06. So we see consecutive higher lows, which give us a pattern, and we see pretty much the same high. So if giving us a pattern, it looks like we potentially can keep going up. I would consider the downside here below 99.02, just because we had it twice here. So below 99, maybe you want to be safe and do a 98.95, 98.90. Could be a good entry for your puts. Make sure you look volume and all that stuff. For calls, you can do here. So we broke resistance once, and that was in Friday morning, and we stopped at 101.63. So you can either be safe and retest this one, or you can just get in, because again, if we get in here 101.01, this is assuming we're gonna open within this channel. So we got at, let's say we wait and we ended up getting at 101.15. If this resistance is true, we're gonna be making almost half of our delta here, which for a weekly is pretty decent profit. So we can afford that. I mean, as soon as we take some small profits and And assuming this will stop here, assuming this resistance is good, we take some good profits, and if we break above, we're gonna keep climbing. If not, we just set a stop at even, or you can just close all your contracts. That's up to everybody, but definitely would like to see this here. Otherwise, guys, you have a high here at 102.71, which be just a risky play. You know, you don't have too much to do. You have a pre-market level that's set at a high, and if I'm not wrong, that might be an all-time high. So let's see. Yeah, so 102.71 is your all-time high. You can set yourself an entry above 103, 102.90. That's going to be on you, but you have an all-time high that only confirmed once on pre-market. You don't have too much to rely on. So hopefully we don't open close to that yet. Hopefully we can take advantage of this 101, this 101, oh, 101.01 resistance. Hopefully we can take advantage of this entry. And that's all I got. So yeah, support 99.02, 838, and 101.01. PTO over 142. Let's okay. I'll do PTO real quick. See what I see. I mean, yeah, again, you can do above 142, but actually, I mean, yeah, you can, but there's also a little thing here, 142. You can do it. Just be aware that it's an all-time high. It's the same case of Chewy. No, AMD, I don't like AMD, so I'm going to pass AMD. I have my alerts on AMD. I like other stocks better than AMD. I still gonna have my alert, but I'm not gonna waste the time if I don't like it. There's AMD and Qcon hasn't been the best. Neo, I have my alerts on Neo, but I can't do 100 stocks in one night. Sorry. And Kian and Boris, I wanna do some too. So I have alerts on Neo too. If you look Neo, already have it breaking down, so I'm not worried too much about it. I would look it if I like it on pre-market, I would get in. But as you see, it is on my watch list, so I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to understand that there's a lot of stocks and you gotta trade what you like. So I already have Neo breaking down. If I like what I see on pre-market, I would break it down with the most recent levels, and I would find entries for longs and shorts. But as right now, yeah, you know what? Doesn't look bad. We just gotta wait and see. So, Neo. I can do Neo real quick to be honest, because I do like what I see here. So let's just clear this stuff, make it clear. That way you guys can see how I chart it. So for PTON8, I already told you, you can have an entry at 142.10, 142.15, 20. Just make sure you understand it's an all-time high and you don't have too much confirmation. So if you get in, be aware that it is a risky play. I mean, it can be very good or it can be bad. But yeah, you do that. So Neo, you have 48.30. This is the last one I'm going to do. I want Kian to do his thing too. Okay, we have a little channel here. Hmm. 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 Mm. Let's support here on Neo. So I think for Neo, we can probably keep in mind the 4763 and also a 4657 support. So for Neo, that's what we do. We have to see tomorrow. There's a close resistance, so can ignore those. That's the only thing I don't like about Neo. There's a lot of resistance close by. So we need to wait. And 4763, 4797, and 483. Those are all resistance and formed within the past 2 or 3 weeks. So keep that in mind. The downside, be playing against the trend, but those levels seem a little more legit. Like 4553, 4613, and 4657. They look like they've been confirmed more because you do have this one here at 4763. So I like that. Okay, so this is what I see. I see a 4763 as a valid entry. You give me maybe 10 cents, 4773. The only thing here is at 48, you might find resistance, but at the same time, this was when Tesla was pumping. Last hour of the last minute of the market. So when there's a big movement like that, you can set this level and there's 2 options. So you're gonna have to wait for confirmation and be aware that there's the option that we might find resistance here at 48 and we're already in longs because we did. So that's not going to be too much money that we're going to make if we get rejected there. So keep that in mind. It's actually at 48, it's not even 47. Yeah, it's 48, perfect if you see. So I would keep that in mind. You can enter here, but it's going to be a little risky because you're going to have a 48 that it might don't stop you there. It might keep going, but you need to keep in mind that we stop here when on Friday right at closing. So that was when Tesla was moving crazy. Neo kind of followed it and spied as well. So we closed at this high almost 46.72. Oh, we closed at, where is that 46.72 here? 46.92, 46.72. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you go for it, nothing wrong. Just keep a tight stop. Honestly, that'll be the only way. If I get in above this 47.63, I keep an eye on 48, and then see if we break. We can probably gap up to 48.3, which is going to be half of our delta. It's not going to be a bad contract, but definitely keep an eye at that resistance if you get in at 48. So getting with a trail stop. Trail stops is a good case in Neo if we get in tomorrow. Obviously, if we see that the candles are pumping and the buyers are there big time and the whole market is pumping, then we most likely can have a better idea. But we don't know what's going to happen. I know we got some news today. Don't get too crazy with those. You gotta still let the charts talk. Don't just because they pass a bill doesn't mean we're gonna pump tomorrow just because there's a vaccine. Obviously, markets are healthy. It's an uptrend, but we're not buying shares here. We're playing options. So those expire, those gain value if the stock moves, those lose value if the stock decides to don't move. So just be aware, just because the stock eventually is going up doesn't mean you're gonna make money on the option. So buy the right contracts and know your levels. And that's all I got, guys. Well, I think Kian can go right now. Or do you guys have any questions before we do this?
No, that was great. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Took a little long.
I can see it. Yeah.
Any stock that you want me to go over? Actually, I got a couple, maybe Teladoc and Net that I can go over. So let's go over Net. Net, what do I have here? TTM fired long on the 4-hour, right? We have a resistance at 86.13, okay? It closed at 83.81. Kramer actually had the CEO of Net on his show Friday after market, pumped up to 86. So what I want to see is I want to see a open above 86, right? 86.32. This thing, I'm not even kidding. I think it could go up to the 90 level, right? And we have calls on Net. We have a 90 call for January 15th. So I think I sold a couple contracts and then letting some run. But if it cannot hold, our first support is going to be 84.38. Then we have 82.68. So below 82.68 is going to be one other level. Now, if we break below 82.68, then 80.23 is going to be our major support. So that's Net. Did you guys discuss Pen? Pen was another one that I was actually looking
No,
at.
we didn't. We didn't.
You didn't? Okay, let's look at Pen
No.
then. Pen has been holding above the 8 moving average, right? So it's been holding up this whole 8 moving average very nicely. Okay, so as long as Pen can hold above the 8, this thing could run. Okay, so since the 80 levels, right, it's been consolidating a bit on the 80, held up the 8 moving average, it keeps running up. Okay, so what do we have here? Our major, our key level support is going to be around the 90 area, right? So let's just put on this candle on the 4-hour. So let's do at or below 90.08, right? So if we can hold, we can see, with volume, all-time high, okay? And obviously all-time high, we break above 95.58, this thing can go to the hundreds. Okay, because I think, obviously with the vaccine news, and again, this is just speculative, this is best case scenario. Vaccine news, sports slowly coming back, you have the NBA starting next week. This is all positive news for these, gambling, sports type of stocks. Okay, so as long as if you can hold the 90 area, right, and you have your major resistance at 95.58, this thing could go to the hundreds. Okay, but let's not get too, excited yet. And obviously tomorrow these levels are going to change, right? But if 90 fails, right, so if it breaks below the 8 moving average, we could possibly go to the mid 80s, right? So we got 86, right? So we got 86 as a support. So at or below 86, okay? And if this thing could, if it breaks the 86 level, we can go back to the 80s. Okay, so you gotta be very careful here. And what I'm gonna look at is that if it goes below the 21 moving average, there could be some downside. We can go back to the 80, right? This is if it goes below the 21 moving average. Okay, so I'm not gonna be bearish. I'm not gonna short this. I don't short really any stock, but if I would not be bearish, unless it breaks the 90 level. Okay, so if it holds the 90 level, I think Elkin, let's start thinking maybe you can go long here, right? And we're gonna have a resistance at 95. If it can't break that, then why not take profits on those contracts and go from there, right? So this is going to be a major resistance. So that's Pen. Teladoc. I know some of you guys are obsessed with Teladoc. I like Teladoc long term actually. I know Kathy Woods, our favorite person, has been investing a lot in Teladoc. They've been buying a lot of Teladoc. The thing that worries me, right, is this. It's below the 200 moving average. Okay, and this is 4 hours. This is not like a 15-minute chart, 30-minute chart, right? It's below the 20 moving average or 200 moving average. So I will not enter long, right, until I see it go above the 200 moving average. Okay, so you can use this 200 moving average as a resistance level. So 197, what's it gonna give me? 197.98 is gonna be your key level, right? So 197.98 is gonna be your key level, and I'm gonna have a little support at 194.07 because that is my 21 moving average. Okay, because if we break below the 20 moving average, we can see more downside. Okay, so 194.08 to short. Okay, we got 197.98. A break above 197.98 with volume. This is gonna be our next resistance at 264. What I like about this is on the 4-hour, TTM has fired long, right? A lot more buying than selling. Okay, so if this is gonna hold up tomorrow morning, breaks above 197.89, this could be a great long position. We can enter 210 calls for a minimum, 30, 40 days out, right? Let's find a contract that has 40 or more delta. Okay, obviously we like time on our side as well. So 197.89 is going to be our key level for this one, right? We can't really break this 200 moving average. It keeps getting rejected. Broke once, couldn't hold. So this is going to be another level. 204.59. Okay, so at or above, that's going to be our next level. And obviously, this thing can run back up. We did break the wedge though, but now it's just been consolidating and kind of getting rejected in this level. So that's Teladoc. Tesla. Let's do Tesla. Okay, you didn't do Tesla, did you? I don't think so.
You want my levels for Tesla?
Yeah, we can do yours. We can, I can just do a quick review on my point of view as well. Tesla. So it's gonna be around 660, 655 support. Okay, these are major supports because tomorrow who knows what's gonna happen. Okay, so 658 is gonna be my major support. Okay, now if we see if Tesla tomorrow, I don't know what it's going to open at or whatever, but if it holds this level, right, I'm expecting to push back up to the 680s. Okay, I have a feeling it's going to push up to the 680s. Okay, and if it can break above the 680 level, 695, and you know what can happen after that. If it goes above 695, this thing's going over 700 easily. Okay, now if 655 fails or 658, this area, if we can't bounce off that level, we could go back to the 648 level, right? So 648 is going to be our another support that we're going to have. Can't hold that. Obviously that Tesla moves very quick. You can go down to the 639s. Okay, so we're gonna have a good amount of lines here because these are gonna be major levels to have. Okay, TTM is fired long, but I mean it's Tesla. Who knows? So 639. I mean that's gonna be our major support. If let's just say tomorrow we wake up tomorrow and Tesla's at 640. Let's see how it acts. If it can break the 640 level. For me personally, I would probably wait for 658. I think this is gonna be the major level. 658. If we open tomorrow below this 658. So if we open at 640ish, a safe entry for Tesla to go long is 658. Okay, because this area right here, right? See how it's been rejecting a couple times? It broke. So that's Tesla. I mean, tomorrow it's going to be wild, right? They're going to be including S&P officially, and the volume is going to be just crazy. On top of the stimulus and all that good stuff. That's happening. Can we look at CLNE? Yes, we can. Clean Energy Fuels Corporation. Okay, so we have a resistance here, as you can see, right? So you can do at or above. Okay, so reject here. Now it has to break here. This can be a hard resistance. Okay, now we have a support here. Okay. Right, so 530 is going to be your support. Okay, I don't know too much about this stock, but look, I mean, it's riding above the 8 moving average. Okay, so what you're going to look at is breaks below the 8 moving average. Okay. So that's going to be below 514 as a support. This is going to be your next major support, 494. A lot of buying. Lots of buying at the end of the day. So, you know, above 587, go long. You know, the high's at 6. You know, if it breaks the end of the high, then, you know, this thing could run. This thing could definitely run. But if it can't, if this gets rejected, you know, expect it to go back down to, you know, the 520 levels and maybe even the 516 levels. But I think tomorrow it's going to be the ones with major volume. I think it's going to be cybersecurity stocks, clean energy stocks. You know, I think those two are going to be those industries are going to be the ones to be looking at. You know, another thing I was discussing on the Instagram live was genomic stocks. I was watching an interview from Bloomberg with Kathy Wood, you know, from ARK, and they were talking about, you know, the genomic stocks like CRISP Therapeutics, and ARK-G, and you know, she convinced me with all of her analysis and all that stuff to, you know, purchase these stocks. So tomorrow I'm going to be looking at a good entry for Leaps, for ARK-G and CRISP. You know, I think, you know, she said she's expecting a 20% return on those type of stocks. You know, on top of that, she said it could be a much bigger run than, you know, her Tesla holdings. So those two things are going to be on my watch list for sure. I think I'm going to buy stock tomorrow for those two for long term. I'll put in the long term investing channel. You know, I was reading up on some things, you know, with the genomic type stocks, and I'm convinced. She convinced me. So she wasn't wrong about Tesla. So I don't think she's gonna be wrong about, you know, CRISP Therapeutics. And you can tell if you look at, you know, what they're buying, you know, every day. CRSP has been on that list every single time. Every single time. They're just buying and buying and buying that stock. And there's some other ones I'll highlight as well. But those will be for sure the ones I'll be looking at. What else? What else? So obviously, actually, I got a couple things to. Oh, maybe not. Maybe no one's really here. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say for the newer members that wanted to show up. But you know, topics for tomorrow. You know, that have an effect on the market. Stimulus passed, obviously. Airlines, $15 billion in federal aid. They're actually calling back 32,000 furloughed workers. So Jets ETF is the one that we're gonna look at. You know, all the airlines. You know, BA could be one of them that we're gonna look at. Tesla obviously being added to the S&P 500, $80 billion are going to be bought into the index, and then at the same time, tons and tons of billions of dollars are going to be sold at the same time from other S&P 500 companies. Now futures kind of flat, you know, due to stimulus. I'm not really surprised. I'm pretty sure Wall Street's actually disappointed with that news. Short week, you know, remember we got a short week, so weeklies are going to kill, you know, theta is going to be even, you know, much higher. Right, so Thursday is half day, and Friday we're off. Right, so be careful with the weeklies. You know, obviously, you know, elk and scalp, so those 5-minute, 10-minute trades are not even gonna. It's not gonna affect you that much. But you know, if you're holding weeklies overnight, then you know you gotta be really careful with those.
So sorry.
No,
If
go
you
ahead.
guys buy 2 weeks out, be aware of that. If you buy December 31st expiration, I think that's gonna be. Hold on. Yeah, if you buy December 31st, be aware that if you hold over the weekend, you're holding for 4 days. So be careful with those thetas.
Exactly.
If you're holding on the weekend, if you're gonna hold from Monday to Wednesday, that's fine. but just be careful with that. You guys need to be aware.
Yep. Yep.
Because you are not going to be able to do anything for 3.5 days. So just make sure. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, and just a couple other things that I want to talk about. Obviously some of the members aren't here, and you guys already know. But just for the recording purposes, for the new members to watch, some frequently asked questions. Any plays? Okay. This question is, doesn't bug us, and we know how you feel because you guys want to enter trades all the time, and you want to be looking at your contracts, etc. But we don't want to enter trades just to be in a trade, right? If we're not liking the setup, there is no reason for us to alert it to you guys with a higher chance of you guys losing money. Okay. So let's say one day I only make one trade. That is because, and listen, I could have missed out on 5-6 stocks. Okay. But the main stocks I'm looking at, if I don't like their setups, or if I don't like their volume, or I don't, let's say there's a meeting going on in 2 hours with Powell or McConnell, whoever, I'm going to be, a little more safe, right? So I'm not going to be just forcing out plays, because if I force out plays, let's say 3 out of the 4 are, they're negative, right? And people are going to start, asking me questions or elking questions. Hey, like, should I cut this? Should I, do this? Should I do that? And our answer is going to be, well, you asked for more trades. We're going to give you these trades, but we're not confident in them, right? So, that's a question that, I get, I understand. I know everyone wants more trades to be in and stuff, but we're looking for the highest probability trades, right? We want you guys to make money consistently, okay? Um, I know you guys in the voice chat, I know you guys don't ask it. I'm just saying for recording purposes and for new members that have never traded options or beginners. Another one, are you still holding this contract, or what are you doing with this contract? So if I've sold, some of my positions, so when I sell those positions, you got to start thinking, now Keon sold his positions, okay? He's taking his profits. What am I going to do? Am I going to risk holding these contracts and potentially making more money, or potentially losing money? Or am I just going to take profits when he takes profits? Okay, I'm pretty conservative, right, with profit taking. You've seen my alerts. Some of them have run up like crazy. But then again, to me, it's like I'd rather have my cash. I'll make the money and I'm out. And I can relax. But if I've sold, let's say 3 out of the 7, and then I get a question, so what are you doing? Are you still in Fastly, or are you still in Net, or whatever, right? I am in those contracts, but I've already made my profits for those contracts, so I'm not even worrying. And I'm not really managing them, okay? Because I have stops on them. I'll have a stop. If I'm up 60% on those contracts, I will have a stop on the runners for 20%, okay? Because I don't want them to, stop at break even, right? I still want to make money on those contracts, right? So when I sell my first half, okay, when I sell my first half, you as a trader should also be thinking, how much am I willing to risk on this trade? Am I willing to hold and risk overnight, for potential profits, or if the stock goes the other way, right? Because swinging, we don't know what's going to happen overnight. Who knows? One piece of news can, flip around all your technicals. So you got to ask that, should I just take my profits and move on, or should I risk and hold? Okay. So, you know, you can ask me. I don't care. Ask me. I can look at the chart and say, yeah, it's still looking good. But then again, my risk is out. I already sold my profits, or my contracts for profits. So I'm not even worrying, right? But if you didn't sell, then that's when you got to ask yourself, okay, should I just get rid of it, or should I risk it? So that's another frequently asked question that that we get.
Let me give an example on
Please.
that one.
Yeah.
Look at last week. I got into a Starbucks contract and I got a 110 call January 15 at 98. I sold some of them at 116. I actually sold half of them at 116. So I sold almost at 20% when it went the same day at 30%. So just because you have time on the contract doesn't mean that if you see a good profit, you have to leave it because you got time. So what happened with the Starbucks? It dropped right away. So if you see that premium right now, because I took profit somehow, even if the premium is down, I'm on a break-even point right now on that trade because I did take profits early and I got time on my side. So again, like I know some of you held because you had time and you see it up so much. Just because you have time doesn't mean that if you see at 30%, for obviously we all want to make 100%, 200%, but let's be real, it's not that often that you can make 200% on a trade. If you would have, for example, fuel cell, that one, yes, that one went like 100% on profits, but we don't know that. That's why you want to sell along the way. So Starbucks is the best example. The same day we got it, we saw 30% profits, and some of you decide to hold all of your positions, and now you're on loss because you got greedy and you thought it was gonna keep climbing, but it doesn't have. I know some of you sold, some of you held, and I'm not trying to be like, hey, you held, you shouldn't held. Like it's all up to you at the end. You do whatever you feel comfortable with it. But that's the example I want to give you. Even if the contract went down, just because I sold half of my position, right now on the trade, I'm at an even point, and I have time on my contracts now because I took my profits. So that's all I want to throw in there. It's an example of what Kian just said. Just because you got time on your contract doesn't mean that you're not you can take profits. If you're up nice, at least take some of them. You can sell half and let the other half run.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Taking out your risk. It's the main thing. Exactly. Yes. 20% rule. If you see 20%, just ask yourself, right? I should just take my 20% and not even worry about that trade. Take your cash and move on to the next trade because who knows what's going to happen, right? So like here's another good example. AMD on Friday, right? So I bought a 91 call for $6 per contract, so 600, right? That thing ran up to 680. I sold half of my position. I think 3 out of 7 or 4 out of 7. I have to look. Okay? Literally 5 minutes later. Okay, 5 minutes later, we get news, on CNBC, says Microsoft is now creating their own chips. AMD took a hit. Intel took a hit. Nvidia took a hit.
Drop
And
like a rock.
dropped like a rock. Exactly. And those premiums dropped like a rock. I mean, those premiums went all the way down, I think, to 480 or something. I mean, it went back up to, I don't know, I think it was like 550. But then again, if you see the profits, why not take them? Because you never know what's going to happen, right? Now, if I held those contracts, I would have been down probably $900. Okay? But again, it was a quick, $500 profit. Okay, because I sold right away. Once I saw that profit when it jumped $80 per contract, why not take it? Right? There's no reason for me to risk more. Right? I mean, AMD could run up to 100, right? And obviously I will miss a chunk of profits, but who cares? There's 255 days, and I say this all the time, but it's something that everyone has to put in their head. There's 255 trading days. There are so many opportunities to make money, right? And that one day, if you have one bad day, it could wipe out all your hard work for that week or month, right? Consistency is key. Remember, for the new people who are listening, $50 a day is literally $12,600 a year. Okay? Just think about that. Only $50. And again, with this market, $50 a day isn't actually that easy. Okay, because anything can happen. But I really try to get that into people's head. 20%. Really start thinking about, what am I going to do here? Am I going to take profits, or am I going to risk, right, and hold? Okay, so I think AMD was a great example from Friday. What about Microsoft? Microsoft has been. I mean, we missed Microsoft. Yeah, I mean this thing obviously broke out, right, from the 213 level. The thing is, it's holding right above. I mean, it's right on the 8 moving average. So yeah, Elkin's right. I mean, above 221, that's gonna be a hard resistance to break. And Microsoft, honestly, I don't know. It's just too low volume, and I mean, the volume actually has been pretty good lately, but the resistances are way too tight. It's got to really break that resistance, to see a run up. I mean, it breaks something you hear, right? But it just doesn't hold well. So I would say above 221, then you got 225 range. But I don't know. That's Microsoft is kind of a hit or miss. And if you want to play Microsoft, you better put a lot of time on your contract, because if you have a weekly on Microsoft, I mean, you're basically just wasting your time, especially if this thing doesn't move. But yeah. Any questions, concerns, Elkin, Borax? You have anything to add?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Well, I think that was a good session.
that was good, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
We went through a bunch of stocks.
Yeah.
And again, you guys need to know, because I remember when I first started doing this, we would host overnight sessions. This is all speculation. The whole deal is gonna be tomorrow. We gotta see how we open. Well, no, we first gotta see the pre-market. Then we gotta see how we open those first 5 minutes. If you get into a trade of those 5 minutes, please set a stop, look at your stuff, and then just wait for the market. Everything tonight is a speculation. It's still good to do, like, because if we did 10 stocks and two of our setups are still valid by tomorrow, that's huge. To be honest with you, like, because those two trades can be the trades. So just make sure you know that everything that we just did is a bunch of speculation. Don't disregard it, but don't rely on it 100%. And don't be disappointed that you see tomorrow, oh, Chu is above whatever, 102 or 100, whatever we say, and don't be disappointed on it, because it happens. And it's still good to do this, but as we say, it's a lot of speculation.
Yeah. To add on to that, whenever we're doing these watch list sessions at night, 100% of the time you should always look over the stocks that you charted, and 90% of the time you have to rechart them to match what the pre-market is saying.
Exactly.
Especially on a Sunday night, because tomorrow, Monday, we have the whole week and it's going to come on us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, watch this for sure. And, this week is going to be wild, right? I mean, you have a short week. You have stimulus news. You have Tesla being added to S&P 500. You have all the buybacks for the banks, right? So banks are going to look very strong now, right? I mean, it's gonna be wild, right? It's gonna be wild. Who knows what's gonna happen with the stimulus and the buybacks, the aid for the airlines. It's gonna be one of these weird trading weeks. I feel like Thursday half day, Friday we're off, so take it step by step. I think it's gonna make my swinging much harder, but follow the charts. Follow the charts. Trends are your friends. Good question though. So right now the only thing that's positive is NASDAQ futures. Dow is down, or SPY is down 5 points. It's nothing. Jeez, futures aren't even moving. Huh. So yeah, end of the year, stimulus, vaccine, all that. Yeah, just let the charts talk. That's it. That's it. Alrighty, I think that'll be it for our session, huh? That was a good session. Thank you, Elkin. Thanks, Borax, and
Yeah.
thanks all of you for joining. I will post the link as soon as it gets uploaded. Yep. See you guys in the AM. Have a good one. Rest up.
See you guys.
See ya.